of your body. Front surface, back surface, simultaneously. And as you're doing so, naturally you're picking up the quality of what you're moving over, its warmth or its pulses or its sensitivities, throat, torso, chest, midriff. That's the kidney area, very important area, just below the ribs. Kidney, solar plexus, diaphragm area. And then beneath that, the fluid flexing front of the body, abdomen, and the sensitive membrane, the back of the body. Down into the pelvis. So just setting that up. Something you can return to if you need to, if you want that sense of stability, poise. And then at this time, we'd like to encourage you to, while holding that or framing that up with your mindfulness, to lightly open the sense fields. In other words, lightly open the eyes. Obviously, you're listening, so your hearing is open. And let your eyes look at infinity. So no particular focus, they're just receptive. Because you're not looking at anything in particular, you're just receptive. In that receptive mode, you can receive light, the quality of light, maybe some color or shape, but don't go too far into shape, just light, color. In the receptive mode, you can also be receptive to the one who sees. And we tend to imagine this is sort of inside. We have an inside where I live, and an outside where the world is. Okay, that's the way it seems. So there's the scene. Somewhere in there, the feeling of seeing, of looking. And then the act of seeing, consciousness. And that fullness, we're not moving out into the objects with some sort of wish or fear or worry or need to manipulate them. We're just letting them be as they are. The subject is attentive, but we're not going into that either. Our mind of the subject is actually the mind base. So keeping that quiet. And you want that just to be receiving. Practicing receiving. Open to not moving out, not picking up details, just receiving, seeing. So the seer is quiet. That which is seen is quiet. The consciousness is quiet. It's not pushing forward. It's not pushing back. It's not manipulating. It's not apprehensive. Maintaining that undivided wholeness. Whereas tendency will be to do something. Close it down. Close down the seeing, go to thinking, move away from it. Or to move into it, start speculating or admiring particular objects. But notice those energies, those forms, those formations, sankharas, and keep relaxing those when they arise. Return to just the wholeness. And you might find it supportive as you're receiving that, just to be aware of that rhythmic impression, breathing in, breathing out, which non-locational, no particular location to that. In other words, we're not hunting it, focusing on it, we're just aware that also is happening. And it's a sort of stabilizer. Open and stable. Open, stability. You might like to get a feeling of benevolence. Just imagine that the seen, the heard, that which is other than the seer, has a warming effect, if that or a cooling effect. If you're in a hot place, you might enjoy a cold, damp place. Cool, damp place, you might like warm. If you're sitting within a sphere that turns well-being towards you, so linger in that for a while, and that when you feel ready, return to a little bit of activity. Might move your body slightly. It's a reminder. Even if you move into activity, you want to have your body with you. Just small activity, wriggling your shoulders. So you move into action, keep your body with you. Even if your action is just thinking, speaking, that's a little, here we are, and then right, prepare to ask oneself a question. What's important now? What's helpful now? What's curious now? What's beautiful now? How do I frame that? And then when you feel you can get some words, take your time and pop them in the chat box. Anything you feel you'd like to ask about, put them in the chat box, and we'll take a look at that. So a few questions are starting to appear, and I expect they will continue to appear for a while. We'll get up to about half a dozen or so, and I'll just start moving through the questions. So naturally, there's the various problems of the person, how to And the big one, of course, for many people, how to love myself. How to love myself. I think we're going to really keep coming back to that in various talks, various angles. And of course, it's a question that needs a qualification. Yeah. In general, it's regarding one's heart as taking it seriously. So just recognizing what love is, not just sentiment, but it's appropriate parenting guidance. So the more we care for ourselves, our hearts, our well-being, that you count, then obviously you cultivate precepts, sense restraint, gratitude, generosity, because these make you feel good. Now, more specifically, we might say when we're sitting in meditation, we can feel kind of rather negative heart. At that particular time, we can't cultivate anything or do anything. We can't, say, you've kept precepts, you've done that. You still don't feel good about yourself, even though you've done these things. So as a practice, as a technique, something similar to what I've been talking about. Just imagine you're sitting in something that is warm, and essentially this kind of love isn't something you do, you receive it. And that's part of that mode of practice. Especially the lawnmowers that I was saying I don't find a problem are now gathering around my kuti. So I hope you don't make a problem out of them. Yeah. So it's not you don't have to do it. That's the problem. How do I do love? No, you don't do it. You stop the doing, or you begin to gently relax the doing. And you might say, imagine what it would be like to feel you didn't have to do very much. And that something else around you is happy to see you. And that's why we cultivate that meditation I've just described, a sense of opening the field from the subject who's always doing and trying to get it right, and there's a place for that. But that can't do loving itself, because love is a non-action. In this particular point, it's the receiving of benevolence. So where's the benevolence? I can't feel it. I can't feel it. Well, because in that particular state, when you can't feel it, you're actually living in an isolated packet yourself. Now, what is outside yourself? Well, I'm living this body, so around me there's trees and cars and walls. They're not particularly benevolent. Where's that? That's what it looks like. Now, if you go to the mind, there you are, trying to look at things and do things and change things and steady things. That's your doingness. All good. At a certain point, just let all of that mind stuff be as it is. As it is. And it will keep bubbling and changing, just as it is. And regard all of that content, which is both what you do and what's happening to you, your actions, your impulses, your wishes, and what's happening to your concerns and worries, all of that as one mass. This is called active mind objects, that, which is very much, seems so much like me and what's happening to me, all of that. Now, all of that as an entirety can be seen, reviewed. It's a very wide focus. Just like you're watching somebody else doing their thing, being who they are, and you step out of that. Oh, stepping out of that, regarding it, all of that, with it's never finished, it's always changing, it's never arrives at a place of stability, it's shifting around, it's some good and some not so good, all of that. This is mind. This is what I experience myself as being. May that be well. It's that gentle wish over all of that. So if you find that, if you get to that wide span, now this is where you see your action will be inside that packet. Right? Your actions to make things happen, that's inside you. That's the me bit in the mind. And the stuff you're dealing with is the mind bit. Dealing with my thoughts, dealing with my body, handling my energies. The me and the mind are in that packet together, working with each other. Now, we can regard all of that. What's there to say? It's like that. Just warm wishes, warm wishes, warm wishes. So you see, so it's not that the me within that package starts loving everything, because that's more pressure on the me, who in fact doesn't quite know how to do loving. And the mind, which is my thoughts and impressions, don't really know what that is right now. So you have to step outside it, and then it's more so natural arising. It's called unconditioned love. Stuff is good, bad, not so good, some good, some bad. That's not its concern. It's not measuring anything, not valuing or judging anything. It just steps outside and witnesses that. You can do that. It can be done. It requires a wide focus, stable openness, and then breathing, energy of presence, soft, soft. No pushing, no pressing, no tugging, no messing, no meddling. What's left when that stops? And stay with it. And stay with it as if you're, almost as if you're holding it in your hand. So don't look at it as a thought from your thinking mind, look at it from your heart. Feel it from the heart. How does that feel, all that? However it feels isn't really the point. The point is to relate to it from that which knows feeling, experiences feeling. See how that works for you. It's an important topic, because if that is cultivated, then the various issues of that me are all regarded with a mind of compassion and goodwill. And that begins to permeate the entire field of the mind. How to deal with loneliness. So many people are feeling lonely. Loneliness, and of course, the Buddha talks about blissful solitude. Why isn't Why isn't solitude blissful? Well, we might reflect again what I've just talked about. It's very often the case that the lack of love, it's not direct hatred so much as just there isn't a warming effect happening. We experience that as loneliness. I'm on all of this, all me, I'm on my own. It's just bleak. There's no caring in that field, in that experience of me. One isn't cared for. And it's as if you're on the face of the moon. You know, it's bleak, it's dark. And we call that loneliness. Yeah. The difference between that and blissful solitude is blissful solitude is when that quality of warm regarding is with us, is present, because we've expanded our attention to include that very wide field. And loneliness, part of it is because, for various reasons, most of us live within a sort of a self-membrane. You know, obviously that's the way the world is. This is mine, my house, my door, my body, my place, my car, my whatever. That's kind of where we habitually live. And there's a boundary around that, and for good enough reasons. You know, there's violation, there's conflict, there's people doing messy things to it, and saying it's mine. You know, so you create that boundary. And at certain times, you might open that boundary to particular people. Oh, so and so, yeah, please come in. Nice to see you. Other times, you just so you always got that boundary. It does make it kind of lonely. Now, that boundary may have a habitual resonance of apprehension. Like, you know, I could get hurt. People do something unpleasant to me. You know, understandable. And yet, you know, that means the isolated individual. And that means nothing's there to support me. I've got to do it on some basic emotional level. You know, so I can try to do things to, you know, cheer myself up and have a good time and meet people and, you know, pull myself together. And this is the doing of warm feeling. Not bad. But at a certain time, that doing, you get like, you know, what happens when that runs out, or, yeah, well, you can't do it. Then this is why it's membrane of the self, boundary of the self. And you can be aware of that boundary. Is it marked by the feel? Generally, it's marked by a non-loving experience. It could be experience of fear, shame, guilt, regret. I am somehow, you know, retracting, or what's around me does not receive me. You can have these emotional messages in it. Now, can we touch those emotional messages sympathetically? Yes. Yes, we understand that. Not trying to bust this boundary, understand this, that sadness, that sense of not being good enough, that is understood and experienced with some quality of compassion. Maybe, and we're breathing. And maybe that gesture of compassion to our self-boundary, I hope some of this is making sense, does, strangely enough, cause it to soften. Not disintegrate, just soften, because you want to have one, but you don't want a shell. So that softening of that self-boundary qualities seems more permeable. And in that, when it becomes permeable, softer, strangely enough, without any particular effort, strange impressions come in. Sometimes people have visions of love or light, or they remember somebody in the past, or they see something from some other sphere. They feel a sense of, universal love or light happens. And you are part of something. The self is always alone, to a degree. We make friends, we have company, and yet at a very deep place, the self is alone. That structure, we can't. So we go to the boundary of it and begin to work on the emotional or energetic qualities that are in that boundary, where they're tight, they're asking for something. Please, please help, please. And that sound, that voice, that tone is heard in the heart with compassion. That helps. And of course, events like this may help. Just the sheer, much more mundane level of just Kalyanamitta, such an important feature for our development and well-being. Let's scroll down a little bit. Oh, we've been very busy when I was talking. Yeah, so someone's sharing the sense of while sitting, they experienced I don't feel fragmented. I feel like I'm in a sense of being in a flow. Very beautiful, lovely to read that. Thank you for that. Sometimes the mind seems happy to stay in the quiet state of calm. Question arises, where are you? Sometimes the mind moves to potential thinking, bringing it back to this quiet space, watching just here. Is this helpful? Yeah, it is helpful. Just here. And thank you for being just here. It's a special thing to do, a special place to arrive at. So enjoy it, and be gladdened by it. You don't have to make anything. Someone experiences gratitude while they were sitting and rejoicing. That's lovely. How these things happen effortlessly. You just suddenly find these moods, emotions washing. Where did that come from? I didn't do it, because this is the beauty of the very wide field that I'm encouraging. We often live in a kind of little corner of it, not even recognizing there's anything out there, apart from things that we feel alienated from. The self-boundary, get to the edge of that. Self-boundary, not the boundary of the room, the door, but the boundary of where your sense of being something, and then if you relax, the idea of there being sights and sounds, you just go, what's outside the mind? Oh, it's free. It's free flowing, and it's generally benevolent. Way to prevent negative energy, prevent energy coming towards us, or do we just keep observing it? Negative energy coming towards you. Well, you withdraw to your strength. It doesn't mean you run away so much as you remember that upright axis we've been talking about. Upright axis. Now, anatomically speaking, you could sense that as the spine. That's a simple and user-friendly way to talk about it. Your spine, as you withdraw your energy, but at the same time, you're not tightening up. You're not contracting in a fearful state. That's there, and I'm just like you're changing your focus. You see, so when I lean back from the screen, I'm just getting a wider focus on that. So like I kind of withdraw my energy in a collecting, composing way, and get the whole thing. So a sense of the upright, the ground, and the sky. And you stay in that. Collect yourself in that, and negative energy doesn't go there. What happens with negative energy is it lures us out to fight with it or push it away or deal with it, and then we tipped away from our upright axis where the strength is. It's like a trick. Negative energy, you kind of basically you lose your center. You rush off, or you go out and fight with it, or you go and try to shut the door, and so you go out from your center to deal with it. Obviously, we think that will deal with it. Actually, what it does is we get stuck with it. We find ourselves entangled with it. And then when you're entangled with it, you're going to become negative yourself. You're going to become fearful. You're going to become irritable. You're going to become hasty. And you get these, it infects you. So this is center. Really strengthen down that sense of the breathing, holding yourself there. And this negative energy can't catch you. Where the Mara doesn't come. So any moment of truth is also an upright axis. So when the Buddha, this is true. That's an upright statement. And Mara goes, ugh. I'm not arguing, I'm just stating. I'm taking my center back. I'm not messing around. This is the truth. And then all this, well, you shouldn't. That's somewhere else. I'm not dealing with that. Someone talks about grasping the in-breath at the solar plexus. Breath gets stuck there. Try to avoid localizing your attention too much on points in the body, even if they do demand, if your solar plexus area kind of suddenly becomes prominent and grasping, you want your attention to do exactly the opposite, to go wider. So if you're experiencing your solar plexus, just widen, keep your attention widening down to the abdominal floor, up into your chest, back, the back, particularly the back, the space around you. And if you're grasping on the in-breath, just as you get that very wide focus, how's the out-breath? Slow breathing down your back. You may think, I can't breathe down my back. That's my lungs in the front. No, when you experience the rhythm of breathing, the energy flow, direct your attention towards the back. And then the energy flow you'll feel it flowing there because it's a whole body thing. If we're getting energy getting to stuck places, if you put your attention there, the energy will continue to go in the stuck place. And it can't flow freely. So you'll experience the stuckness, and then naturally you can't get through this. And so your mind gets stuck. So you want to withdraw from that place, find out, is there a current which is flowing freely? And it could be the down current of out breath. And as if you're almost leaning on it. And then just take your hand off and let the in-breath flow up. And focus towards the back. And you can also focus as if the breath is moving out, like in an expanding circle, rather than up and down the body. Expanding circle. It may help some of the subtle muscular muscles in your body also to relax, open out, because all of this tightening is aspects of the general problem of contraction. And solar plexus is a very powerful contracting center, isn't it? When you get nervous or tense, that tightens up. It's like a screw thread, and it pulls all the membranes around the torso, tightens the whole thing up, like ringer. Yeah. So, and generally you don't go to the center of a tight place to undo it. You go to the loosest place. So, how are my shoulders? Oh yeah, that was my tip of my shoulder blades down my back, and the connection between the shoulder blades and the back of the pelvis. There. Just be there when you're breathing in and out. Yeah. And so you go around the tight center. Okay, someone's asking about standing meditation, focus on the sensations of standing. Could you also focus on the breath, as in sitting meditation, and not to concern oneself on the breath when standing? Okay. Well, you focus on the sensation of standing just to make sure you're not going to, you've got both feet on the floor, and then the body is upright. And it takes being quite careful about that, with the main theme being how does this body come into balance so that all the weight is going straight down into the floor, so I'm not having to hold myself, in some way. So you're getting the posture muscles to relax. That's it really on the level of sensation. So you can, that's about right, because generally this means there's less sensation associated with holding, and then what begins to occur is the energy begins to move because its system has loosened up. So it allows the muscles, if they're looser, don't block energy. Loose muscles, more energy flow. Right. So energy is not a matter of power energy, this is vitality energy. So if the muscles are looser, the energy starts to flow more thoroughly. And so there's this happening. We focus on maintaining balance. Yeah. Within that energy body, first thing. And then what's around that energy body? Is it spacious? Contracted? So keeping it nice, spacious sense around your energy body. And if you manage that, or as that comes online, you'll notice within that energy body there's a tidal flow, which is breathing. So then, of course, when I talk about sensations of breathing, I talk about the energy of breathing, the vitality of it, which breathing in is a kind of vital brightening, and breathing out is a vital cooling and relaxing. Yeah? And it's not localized, it's global. So then as you're standing, your standing axis is holding the center, and the breath body, the energy body just expands and subsides around that center. That's in synopsis how I would explain that. So not focusing like in that on a point or localizing, but just receiving, which is an interesting way to remember focus. It's not always about looking in. Sometimes it's being looked at, being receptive. It's a focus that we've we don't use very much. Very good one to develop. So a person talks about events from there, and they have the sense, this is events that have harmed my sense of purity, my chitta, some from childhood, left quite deep scarring, created certain strong personality traits which aren't all that positive. How would you suggest working with this? Well, yeah, I think it's a universal enough question. I don't know what the traits are, but I imagine most of those traits will be to do with, they'll be activations. As you do something to get over the scarring feeling. You know, explain something or blame something or try to be better or, you know, or avoid it or think of something positive instead. These are the kind of, we don't like that experience. Don't go into them. Don't go into the topics. First of all, just, and then to get that wide focus. Whatever is here is conditioned from events. It's actually not me, not mine. Of course, that's just an idea right now. But what is the dominant tone of all of that? The dominant, if you had to say the most predominant tone, maybe not good enough. That could be one, a dominant tone, or I'm somehow dirty or soiled or, you know, yucky, not very nice, perhaps ugly or messy or something, you know, shame. I've done something wrong. There's something wrong with me. These are kind of, so you might get one of those tonal voices. Tonal, it may not even be verbal. It may just be a mood, sweeps over you of hopeless, useless, lesser, sort of slightly disgusting. These are the scars. So you take one of those tones, and, you know, so forget about it being you or a person, but it's a tone. It is a tone in the chitta. Right. Okay, and really helpful to be able to return to a tone of just stability. Not feeling great, but I can be with this. And it's not going to be fantastically cheerful, but I can bear presence with this. This is what I call, again, another expression of the upright axis. There can be being with this rather than being in it. And remember, being in it is precarious, because if you go into it, you're going to start trying to make it this way, that way, and if this doesn't actually work, can we be with that, or be with that but not in it? As I've explained or tried to suggest in various images, it's like standing outside but not looking away. And perhaps not even looking, but standing outside and feeling that, as if it's the heat coming into your hands, or and the emotional tone, sort of, ugh. Okay. And then, how's that? And breathing into that. And it will tend to try to pull these unpleasant effects, negative energy will tend to try to amplify themselves with stories. Just keep, returning to the fundamental tone. Don't go into stories. They'll keep saying you should do something. Don't do that. They'll keep saying you are something or you aren't something. Don't believe that. Maintain that presence and breathing. Energy flowing through that. So the breathing helps the heart to come out of its impressed, besieged state. Oh goodness, trying to defend yourself from those unpleasant feelings. The breathing, which is given, essentially the remedy that we're looking for is that which is given rather than that which I produce. Not what I'm, however good my productions are. That's not what's useful here. It's what's given, not produced. And we have to go to that place where the given can speak. Yeah. And the given is the ground, again, metaphors, the ground, the sky, the space. These are metaphors. Where do we find ground? That's a given. You don't have to create ground. You just have to reach it. You don't have to create the sky. You just have to lift to that. Oh, up there and down there. Yeah. So we have to, and very often these afflictions will tend to narrow us. So we leave the ground and we get involved and we leave the ground. We leave the ground of the given. And we're working on the dealing with and holding it and making sure and doing business with it. You want to just return to the ground of the given. And presence is given. You can't create presence, it's given. But you do need to return to it. And when presence begins to refer to the person, their topics, presence, when it begins to refer or regard topics, is benevolent. It doesn't tell you to cheer up or shrug it off. It just has got a gentle, it's empathetic, it's resonant. And sometimes that's just all is really necessary, is to have one's pain received unconditionally by something that is just open to that, not meddling with it. This is a fundamental paradigm. Your inquiry is just to get out of all that stuff one dominant trait, one dominant theme. It could be a different one, depending. It could be, the sickly or the weak or the ugly or the despised or the inadequate or the rejected or the not good enough, know that one? Guess what? Everybody's got one of those. Okay, so it's not just you. It's part of the territory. Okay, that one. Just to be with that. Of course, you can't. So one can talk about that for quite a while. But I hope that's of some use. And maybe once you've got that in mind, things that are said in other talks, you'll begin to, that speaks to that. So I want to heard a lot about energy, helps us to have healthy body and mind, but it's not the meditation technique. It's not a technique, it's a natural feature of our experience. Everything is energetic. If things change, which they do, there must be some energy, because nothing's static, nothing's fixed, nothing's concrete, everything's in flow. So that's energy. Now, it's not energy in terms of dynamic action, it's more like energy in terms of vitality, you could say. And if there's a technique, it's to refer to that and recognize that's what's underpinning, that's what's powering thoughts and emotions and activities and even sensations are riding on this tide of energy. So let's just shift from these external manifestations of thoughts and emotions to what do they ride on? So your thinking mind is riding on a bubbling wave, like a dragon, pulsing along the ground. the dragon of thought, these tremendous flashing lines coming out of it. Yeah, and your emotions are moving on the great ocean. Yeah, tides, pushing, surging, sometimes sinking, spreading smoothly. Just contemplate these energies. They'd have no words to them, but they can be, this one just gathered, restrained, collected, soothed. And everything, body, mind, heart, thoughts, they're all different aspects of that. They will all begin to benefit from it, including your own physicality will benefit from it. Last question today. Worrying about other people. My daughter's bad situation. Trying to move into body, the worry seems to grab me and stay. Worry is frustrated love, isn't it? Yeah. That's why it's interesting. It's so common because there's a lot of love, and a lot of it's frustrated. And we wish for the welfare of others, and we can't quite make it happen. Yeah. We have concern, for compassion that others don't suffer, and we don't feel we can make it happen. Yeah. We feel somebody isn't getting good enough, fed good enough, looked after well enough. So we'd really love to have that mudita experience. They would rejoice in their happiness, but they're not getting it. So this frustration of these brahmavihara generate this worry body, which is trying to, how could it happen? Yeah. And it's unwholesome. It wears you out and it deprives you of your own nourishment. If you're undernourished, you can't possibly be of much service to others or yourself. You can't fix your daughters if you're a nervous wreck, simply speaking. In fact, they'll think, oh, goodness, mother, get off my back, will you? Leave me alone. I'm a grown woman. They do this kind of stuff. They don't want a worry wart. So it's tough, But the brahmavihara that isn't really, doesn't get much much airtime is equanimity. Think equanimity? Oh dear. Means you don't care? No, it doesn't mean you don't care. It does not mean you don't care. It's the big brahmavihara, that helps the others to find their place. Yeah. It's the big one, which means, okay, I'm open, I'm sensitive, I'm receptive, I'm feeling feelings. I'm not doing anything about it. I'm sensitive, I'm open, I'm not closing down, but I'm not doing anything. I'm not stifling myself either. I'm staying open, receptive, but I'm not doing anything about, let it come to me, maintaining that open, equanimous mudra of the heart. And it can be a really painful experience because it can happen within that impotence. I can't fix anybody. I can't get inside somebody else's mind and sort them out. Of course you can't. Can you accept that? You better. But does it mean, so what? People are what they are. Who cares? It's her life. What am I supposed to do about it? No, that's not it. That's not skillful either. You can feel yourself going to kind of fed up state. No, it's open. It's that. I'm open. Anybody wants to come here, that's very welcome. Ask my advice, very welcome. And that's your basic widest expansion of the heart. It's a very wide expansion because it includes pleasure, pain, failure, success, joy, sorrow, impotence, creative urges, just all of it. There it is. I'm with that. I'm open to that. I'm not making a self out of any of it. Now you think you've got daughters. I wonder what that is. Well, that really translates to as experience. You've probably got a worry daughter. And you've probably got, oh, she's not what I want her to be. And and maybe you're probably right. She's not what you want her to be. But that was never on the script, was it? So who are these people in your heart? They're manifestations of your own sense of impotence, frustration, frustrated love. Equanimity is completely unfrustrated. It's love that has no frustration in it. So it's good, fine, I'm open. Bad, fine, I'm open. Failure, fine, I'm open. Success, fine, I'm open. You know what I'm talking about? Great. You don't understand anything, I'm an idiot. Fine, I'm open. That's the big one. And that's, you stay there, and and then maybe the occasion comes around when something comes to you. You have to let the other see you, not as the warrior who they don't really want to be with, but as that open, stable, loving presence. And then maybe they come to you and say, oh, what about this? What about that? That's more suitable. And you keep that. Nothing is yours. Other people are not yours. Be with what is yours, which is the expanded, boundless heart. That's something you can have some say over. And the rest of it, well, we have to be equanimous about. Upekkha is the word. And I guess we'll have to talk about that fully. So thank you for bringing it up. And many of these questions that you've mentioned, I'm sure have a very broad significance for other people and suitable to weave into our ongoing teaching dialogue and transmission. So thank you very much for presenting your hearts.